'Tis I. Hey everyone, glad to see you back. Glad to see you looking fresh. So, how about that Nintendo Direct we just got? A lot of great things, a lot of exciting things to look forward to. Of course, a plethora of things we already knew about, but also look very exciting. But for me, the biggest thing about that Direct was Level 5 Games. Now, this is a developer I've spoken praises on multiple times. Any opportunity I can talk about it, I will talk about it. All the way back to when I very first started my channel, I talked about what I wanted to see in the upcoming generation of games. And part of that discussion was Level 5. And how I knew at the time that they pretty much ceased production in America. They stopped distribution of their games, and basically localization had stopped entirely. The original Ni no Kuni remaster on the PlayStation 4 was pretty much the end of Level 5 as we knew it at the time. But they had already had Yokai Watch 4 on the horizon that was supposed to get localized, and it still hasn't, so I'm waiting for that. But here we are, a couple years after talking about that, and finally we heard something from Level 5, and I'm so happy to see 3 new games being discussed and talked about and upcoming from them. This is great as a fan of theirs. So enough jibber jabber, let's just get into the games I want to talk about here. Professor Layton is a franchise that I've always wanted to get into. I like puzzle games, I like this art style, and so of course, when they announced a new Professor Layton coming to the Switch, I got very excited. A lot of these are on the 3DS, and a lot of people have told me, because of my 3DS video, that I should give them a try, and honestly, it's a franchise I want to try. And they even had a crossover with Phoenix Wright, and that's super cool. I remember really wanting that game when I was younger, even though I'd never played either of those franchises before. So just him alone would have been enough to get me excited. Seeing that Level 5 logo was perfect. That alone. A franchise that I haven't even played before, but the prospect of more games from them, because Professor Layton is their flagship, basically, franchise, they're able to work on and spin that off and do more in America. Can't wait. On top of that, we got a brand new IP from them called Decapolice. Now, this trailer showed, a little gameplay, a little bit of story beats, but honestly, I still don't know a lot about this game, and I feel like the world doesn't know a lot about it either. We're all a little confused, but Level 5, I'm right there with you. I'm very excited to see what they're working on. I do not think that this game will be boring. I don't think it'll be bad. I love the art style. I remember thinking that while watching the trailer, this art style is pretty good. And then just nonchalantly, it says who it was made by, which that was very exciting to see. Another 2023 game to look forward to that I didn't even know existed until recently. And wouldn't you know, the biggest thing in the most recent Direct here in February was, of course, the sequel to Fantasy Life. Fantasy Life I, which I'm not sure what the I stands for, but I guess we'll learn going forward. A lot of people I've seen discussions on didn't really know what to make of this game, and that says to me that they didn't play Fantasy Life, unfortunately, because that game is amazing, and everyone should be able to play it. Everyone should give that game a try. It's a very big game. It's much bigger than what the 3DS feels like it could handle. The game feels bigger than the platform it's on, which is pretty phenomenal. Fantasy Life getting a new version, a sequel, on the Switch, allowing it to breathe a little bit more, allowing it to be that much bigger. I don't know if it's the same amount of jobs, I don't know if they're making more jobs, but if you didn't know, Fantasy Life works like an RPG, but you get to pick what class you want to play as. Sounds pretty straightforward. But on top of being able to be like a wizard and a paladin and an archer, you could also be like a carpenter or a fisherman or something like that. Something completely off the beaten path, something out of the ordinary. And it's like its own full game. It's hours of gameplay. It's its own storyline. There'll be characters you don't really interact with in other storylines that you will in this one. Say you want to be a wizard, so you learn wizard spells and you learn how to use magic and stuff. You won't interact with the head of the carpenter shop unless you want some furniture. But if you become a carpenter first and you switch over to a wizard, then you have that previous knowledge of how to do carpentry, and you are attached to all those characters from that sideline. So when you're doing the wizard stuff and you want some furniture, it all kind of coalesces together. And that's what makes this game really interesting and really fun. And I really hope that they're able to continue that in the sequel. I don't imagine why they wouldn't. Also, seeing the Snapdragon back was a big highlight for me. I am more excited about this game than I'm sure a lot of people are, but for me, it was the highlight of a very solid direct. So, those are the 3 games announced, but those aren't the only games that we could look forward to. Now, obviously, this is just speculation. There's been no confirmation, there's been no release dates, no nothing from here on out. But I cannot get through a video talking about Level 5 without discussing Yokai Watch 4. This game was announced and made, it exists in Japan. It was said to be translated years ago at this point. It still hasn't happened yet. We're still waiting on it. And I understand the popularity of Yokai Watch has dwindled since the first game. But still, I think that given what Level 5 is doing right now, and seeing that they're able to, make a new IP, make a sequel, bring a franchise back, it's a pretty safe bet to think that a translation of Yokai Watch 4 is in the cards. And hopefully it's coming soon. On top of that, the art style of Fantasy Life I was different from the 3DS game, which is to be expected. It's on the Switch versus on the 3DS. But it's different in a way that looks very similar to Snack World, which is another game that's really, really good. Very tasty, in fact. It's a dungeon crawler, which I normally don't care for. Typically, dungeon crawlers are one of my least favorite genres. But when they're done really well, they can be really rewarding and really fun. And Snack World is one of those times. It is an absolute, I wouldn't say must play, but if you like dungeon crawlers, you should absolutely give it a try. Yeah, the art style is a little cutesy, but so? It's still a really, really solid game under that level of QT. And all of Level 5 games are kind of like that. They all have either a QT or like an anime-inspired art style. And speaking of that, Ni no Kuni, I adore Ni no Kuni 2. I actually played that one before the original. So going back to the original, it was kind of jarring. It's a very different game, gameplay-wise. The original is like a monster collector, and it's much more turn-based. And then the sequel plays kind of like Final Fantasy VII Remake, where you choose to do things, but you're also running around and you can attack directly. It's very, very good. I love Ni no Kuni 2. I love a lot of things about the first game. Like I said, I prefer the second one. So, if you want to make a sequel, I'll be there. I'll be all over that. And just thinking about anything that this company can do from here on out, I'm very, very excited about. I'm very happy to see them back. It's been only a couple years, but it's felt like as soon as I jumped on the bandwagon, and once I was like a full supporter, they like dipped. Which is a shame, because it's not like they dipped to spite anything, or they dipped out of like, oh, we don't like that market. They weren't making enough sales, and that's why they stopped. And it's very exciting to see them potentially come back and be able to bring a lot more surprises to the Switch, and maybe the PlayStation, heck, maybe the Xbox. This company is one to look out for, to look forward to, and please support. I mean, unless the games are bad, and then you don't have to. But the games I've mentioned, the two Ni no Kunis behind me, your Snack Worlds, if you're able to get your hands on anything they made for the 3DS, whether that be Yokai Watch, or Fantasy Life, or Professor Layton, by all means, do it. Those games are great. I mean, Professor Layton, I assume it was great. I haven't played it. But the ones I have played, I've loved. Cannot wait to see more. Cannot wait to play the 3 games presented before me. And like I said, whatever speculation we can do going forward. So that'll about do it for me. Have you played anything from Level 5? And if so, what has been your favorite? If not, what are you most looking forward to from them? Maybe giving them a try. And as always, thank you so very much for watching. Like this if you like this, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you at some point.